And now, a word from
Infirmary Media.
Hey dudes and dudettes, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Be Kind and Rewind podcast. A podcast chock full of everything that is nostalgic about the 80s, 90s, and more. I'm your host, Carlos. This episode, we're turning back the clock to focus on the recent box office blockbusters to talk about a few nostalgic film franchises that are making their way back into theaters regarding their history to see if they still hold up to today's audiences. So, joining me is my amigo who rocks the most badass Metallica tattoo while still proudly jamming out to Spice Girls. So I welcome back Dylan Hood.
What up?
What up? Well, we just got back from celebrating your birthday.
We did.
It was a belated birthday.
It was on Friday 13th, 33rd. Did some whitewater rafting.
We took over Breckenridge, Colorado.
We did. It was awesome.
Yeah, it
Good
was.
times.
Shout out to all the boys from E-Town who came out. It was a good time. But yeah, man, we're here to rock out some of these nostalgic blockbusters that it was kind of one of the last thing we kind of talked about through text messages. We were just like, what should we talk about this week? And all of a sudden just realize how many of these nostalgic blockbusters are coming out over the next few months. We're like, we got to talk about these things and just kind of see about like the origins of some of these things and where they come from to where they are now. Do they still hold up? Do we want to see them as much as we want to? According to some box offices, people do still want to see them, and according to some box offices, people want them to go the fuck away.
Yeah.
So,
when I feel like movies at this point, there's so many sequels. We're starting to beat the comic book movie hammer too hard. So now I think they're gonna have to start looking back, and just doing like remakes.
Yeah, I mean,
they're always just looking for ideas, and there's just so much content out there. It's hard to always have fresh new content.
It's just a matter of time of like what franchise, like what beloved franchise are they gonna pick from? Like one that they say that everyone holds sacred. Like, oh, they'll never touch it. Oh, they're gonna touch it. Like Harry Potter, they're gonna reboot that shit.
At some point.
Yeah. Like, it may not be now in like 5 years or so, like probably in 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
That shit's gonna get rebooted.
See it being all computerized at that point too.
Find another little kid that no one's had birthed yet who's going to be the new Harry Potter. So, yeah, it's one of those things that it's inevitable. But now we're getting we still have these franchises that are sticking around for, a long time, 20 plus years to something like Mission Impossible and, Jurassic Park. I mean, Robin Hood, that's been around for hundreds of years. And The Predator, with Arnold back in the 80s. So those are the four ones that we're going to talk about. But I actually put out a Twitter poll to kind of get a feel on what the listeners think about some of these new franchises. Like, I asked them what nostalgic franchises they think will, shine above the rest. Because we have the four categories here. We have the Mission Impossible, Predator, Robin Hood, and Jurassic World. But the winner I thought was going to be Predator at first. And then Robin Hood came squeaking in. Robin Hood was sitting at the bottom for the longest time. But then Mission Impossible came out once. So good old Tom Cruise, again, with that star power.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it because I enjoy every single one of them. I think they're good, entertaining movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that kind of helps us jump right into the first one we're going to talk about was Mission Impossible. This franchise has been around since 1996, but before that, it was a TV show. Like, I didn't know that when I watched it in 96. I had no idea it was based off a TV show. Did you know at the time?
I did at the time because my dad watched that show.
Nice.
That's the only reason we went and saw it together. And I've caught a couple of the old episodes on some old school.
Does it compare? Does Ethan Hunt compare at all?
It's terrible.
Nothing? Okay. He's not jumping from helicopters to the back of a plane? It's not like that? Okay. Well, I guess maybe it's not something that you should go back and watch, but just appreciate the source material that it came from. But also, the movie itself was financed by Desilu Productions. Lucille Ball and Desi from I Love Lucy, their production company, were part of the production. That was for the TV show.
Which is awesome, though, that Lucille Ball would do that.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Tom Cruise produced this movie because Tom Cruise got his hand in all that kind of higher up situation.
Oh, yeah.
He can't be in a movie without getting back in or like directing it or producing it.
Without sprinting or producing it.
Motorcycle scene, like he's got shirt off. He's like I think the shirt off thing is another one he has to have. So, and then what was another thing? So the way that it kind of came to is that how he came to be a producer for this movie, or kind of wanted to do it, which is he partnered with his former talent agent Paula Wagner. In 1993, the company, they produced most of his Cruise's films since then, but Mission Impossible was one of the first ones in 96. And of course, if you don't know the premise of the whole franchise, is back in '96, the film follows the missions of IMF Mainfield team under leadership of Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise, who is forced to take over after the team is betrayed from within in the first film. The series focuses on Hunt as the lead character as opposed to the ensemble cast structure of the TV series. So I guess it was he's just a one man, but it's an ensemble. It is an ensemble though in the movies. He has his team. But
obviously, Tom Cruise is the main character, but yeah, they always incorporate other actors in the teams, and Ving Rhames has been in this the whole
day
time.
one.
Yeah,
day one. That was one of my questions. Like, do you think they're gonna bring back Emilio?
Dude,
Emilio!
That was always a sad one too.
I mean, he
Emilio
obviously died.
So hot at that time. But yeah, what if they like saved his brain or something? The CIA did, or who knows? They could, but
he can be a new villain. He could be a bionic villain. So I could definitely buy Emilio coming back as a villain. So yeah, when they made the first movie, some of the fans of, with most fans of any series, of any material, weren't really fan or appreciative of the film adaptation, saying that they didn't portray some of the actors or some of the characters as they were in the TV series. Which, why would they? The way you're portraying, if it's boring as hell, they're gonna have to spice it up.
Exactly. He's gonna put his own twist on it.
Yes.
It was the 90s.
Exactly. So, and then I guess like one of the actors was saying, they basically destroyed it. They turned it into an action movie when really it's supposed to be like this smart mission type movie. Which
no one wants to see that.
No, not 1996.
No.
Now we got like Face Off and Mission Impossible going on. Like with those kind of crazy action movies. No, we can't be having these slow detective mission movies. So yeah, some of the actors and some fans of the original series weren't fans of what they did with the series, but everybody else who watched the movie really did, because they released it in May of 1996 and on a budget of $80 million, and it made $457 million. So,
that's a nice come up.
So yeah, that is a nice come up for Tom Cruise and everybody else.
That's a pretty big budget back then.
Yeah, that was before, like, granted, $80 million, like, that seems like nothing, but, like, that was, like
back
you said,
then,
huge back then.
With not much animation or computer work, that's strictly
this is one of the first movies
budget.
where they really did incorporate a lot of, like, CG.
Well, yeah, a lot of the, I think, explosions and things like that were CG, but yeah, that's good sized budget back then.
Oh, yeah, and then after that, they had Mission Impossible 2. A couple years later, 4 years later, Mission Impossible 2, which actually was my favorite. You know why? Because of Metallica I Disappear.
The only time they've ever written a song for a movie.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I still jam that out for sure. It's a solid tune. It's not like the quintessential, like, boring filler, like, soundtrack song. I can jam out to it. Well, it's not like a top-notch Metallica song. I don't think they're playing on the mini set list right now, but they'll still probably bust it out every once in a while.
No, I agree. When I heard that Metallica song with the movie, I was like, yes.
Mm-hmm. I was like, and I remember the video being premiered. It was back in the day when MTV did like the world premiere video, Metallica. And you're like, yes, let me see this shit. So yeah, and Mission Impossible 2, Tom Cruise, long-haired Tom Cruise. I remember the big motorcycle mid-air crash situation.
Well, one of the things I always laugh about that movie is the motorcycle race and wreck at the very end of it. The motorcycles, they go from like street tires to sand tires to street tires to sand tires because they're all the different terrain.
They didn't tell you that Ethan Hunt's a master mechanic?
You can hella tell because there's so much tread, but that chase is still pretty.
It's an ambitious scene, which is like now what the series is known for, like these ambitious like stunts and like.
Well, I believe John Woo directed the second one, so that's why you get the pigeons.
Oh yeah,
and also that drama when they're staring at each other and the sand kind of blows away from the gun. He's like, oh yeah, and then kicks the gun and it springs up.
That's right.
I'm like, oh, sweet kick.
Totally improbable, but
John Woo, you're stretching it, but I'm still like,
yeah. See, it's one of those. It's a perfect timing in the '90s when you just like you didn't give a shit about physics. You're just like, that looks sweet.
Well, it was the same with like Face Off, another John Woo movie, and it was like Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, the shape of their head is nothing
No.
alike.
Or when they fly off the boats at the end, when they crash the boats into shore, like 3 people have to have died, and 2 of them were the main characters. So yeah, you have to kind of extend your disbelief when watching a John Woo movie, but they are entertaining.
Well, that's what I say about Mission Impossible 2. They're just an entertaining movie. Don't try to read into it too much.
Mm-mm. No, I wouldn't either. And
it's
then,
called Impossible Mission Force.
Exactly. Just have fun. And it was another 6 years, 2006, when they got in Mission Impossible 3. And I think J.J. Abrams may have directed that one.
Correct.
I'm not sure. Yeah, and then so that one had a budget of $150 million and made $397. So not quite as hot as the other two. In regards to, because Mission Impossible 2 was $125 million and made $546 million. So that one made more than the first one. So rarely, in the rare instance where a sequel does better than the first one. Mm-hmm. So I was all on board with the second one. The third one, I don't think I really watched that much. But it was, again, they take like these long breaks in between each movie to like reinvent at basically at this point. Because then we got Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol in 2011. Yep. $145 million budget, but that made $694 million.
It did. And I believe that one was started by some like new production company.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was like their very first movie, so they were willing to go in. And look how much money it made. It killed.
And I'm trying to think of the director. He directed The Incredibles, Tomorrowland. I can't think of his name, but he's a solid director. He's kind of bounced around, but he basically did a great job kind of reinventing the look and like feel of the whole. It still kept the same concept as like just kind of up the ante a little bit. Like everything's a little more fancier. The cinematography is like on another level.
Yeah, it's crisp.
Yeah, exactly. So it reminds me of a Bond film, really, kind of a more now of a new James Bond film. And then a couple of years later, recently we had Rogue Nation, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, $150 million, similar in regards to the budget range, $682. So they're still similar, like in regards to what the budget and what the take back is. So, of course, they're going to keep it going. And that leads us to Mission Impossible Fallout. It comes out, like you said, next week.
Next weekend, we're going.
Mm-hmm. They're predicting 60 million opening weekend and 400 plus.
I think it'll definitely make that.
Yeah, so the predictions aren't like saying it's going to blow away the other films in regards to.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be like 100 million opening weekend, but. I think 60 you can definitely do. I think it's going to do well.
I think so too.
We haven't had a lot of good action movies this year at all. I mean, besides pretty much Jurassic World, and this is like Mission Impossible.
Better action. Yeah, this will be more action I think we'd be more entertained by. This movie comes out the 27th of July. And basically the premise is when, they're pretty similar to all the movies, when an IMF mission ends badly, Solomon Lane escapes custody, the world is faced with dire consequences as Ethan Hunt takes it upon himself to fulfill the original briefing. The CIA begins to question his loyalty and his motives. So Hunt finds himself in the race against time, hunted by assassins and former allies while trying to prevent a global catastrophe. You mean hunted by the mustache of Henry Cavill? That's what's happening. Or maybe Zack Snyder at this point in time, because that guy, my buddy Zach, was rocking a sweet stash this weekend, and I think
it was almost Tom Selleck-esque.
It was definitely Tom Selleck. I'm excited for this one just because not only are they adding Henry Cavill and like all these other people. I mean, the helicopter scene in the trailer, that looks pretty epic.
Sweet.
Yeah, with them firing that gun on him, and with every Mission Impossible, there's always a betrayal, and Ethan has to go on the run. Basically, that's been the premise of the last 3 movies.
Really has.
So
really has. You think the U.S. government would get it figured out by now, but having worked for them, I know.
You think Alec Baldwin at this point, you'd be like, you know what? I think we need to figure this shit out.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I'm not interested in what the story is. I just want to see all these sweet-ass fucking action scenes.
Ditto.
And with that bathroom scene, that kind of reminds me of True Lies, does it not, to you?
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Maybe it's a callback to True Lies of some sort.
Could be.
Because, I want to see some Superman against Ethan Hunt. See how that goes. Ethan Hunt and that $1 million mustache that fucked up Justice League so bad. I think that's gonna sell more tickets than anything Tom Cruise. People just want to go see that mustache.
It's very possible.
So,
I bet he has his own Twitter page.
I bet you it has a Twitter page and an Instagram page. It has way more followers than this podcast and anybody else that we know at this point. It's sad as it is, but like I was saying with the predictions, they were saying $400 million, which is like about $100 or $200 million less.
Is that domestic or international?
Might be domestic. Who knows? It is
International,
big international.
It'll kill $400 million.
So it probably will get over that 600 mark. But I think that is projecting what the gross would be for domestic.
That'd be nice if it got to that.
But do you think there's any fatigue at all for this franchise? Or do you think it's going strong like Fast and Furious? Like it's picked up steam at this point in time?
Yeah, I think almost at this point it's kind of picked up steam. You don't hear a lot about Tom Cruise in the media anymore, which is probably pretty good. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy every single one of them. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't go out to movies on opening nights anymore much, but I think we're going to go next Friday.
I think this one's worth it to go see.
Yeah.
I mean, not on opening night, but same weekend.
Or same weekend, yeah. Sometimes. But yeah, I'm very interested to see. I think it does hold up. And you know they're gonna make 2 more at least.
Yeah, and Tom Cruise is still at that like age. He's like LeBron James. Like he's like surpassing his prime, what most actors do, and before he needs to retire, like he's past it. He's still doing he's crazy like, and that leads to my next thing. He's still doing these crazy ass stunts. He broke his ankle or foot on this last movie. You know, jumping from the one building to another, and they actually kept that in like the trailers
the good leap,
and all that stuff.
They keep it in there, but yeah, he broke his ankle, was out for a good 6-8 weeks. All production was shut down. But yeah, it's because he does his own stunts. Like the movie before, when he was attached to the plane, like that was literally crazy. Did that.
Yeah,
like damn, dude.
I just remember that build up, like that, like itself was hype on top of the movie.
Yeah.
Like
that one, and when he was on the window on the Burj Khalifa in Dubai.
Yeah,
I can't remember if it was the last one or one before.
That was on Ghost Protocol.
That's insane. That's the highest building in the
world. I don't know what he did in Mission Impossible 3, but in 2, he was on the cliff. I remember that.
Yeah, so, no, he does. He's killing it right now in these Mission Impossibles. Keep it up, Tom Cruise. I know you're listening.
Exactly. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. So, yeah, and I guess some other things, too, like... we talked about if they're going to bring Emilio back.
So I'm standing there waiting to use the payphone, and this guy who's on the phone turns around and tips his hat like this. And who do you think that guy was? Emilio Estevez. The Mighty Duckman, I swear to God. I was like, Emilio!
Maybe he can be a bionic villain of some sort.
Nowadays, it's like, fuck it, do it.
Yeah, I know.
Bring him back.
I know. And another thing, do you think they pay Ving Rhames in fedoras?
I bet he gets to keep all wardrobes. That's probably part of the contract.
I bet it wasn't part of the contract, but he made it as he was leaving with the fedoras.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm going to keep those fedoras.
But you said you think there's probably 2 more they got in the tank before. Do you think they're going to end it, or they'll bring in somebody else? Like Jeremy Renner, they tried with Ultimatum. Do you think they'll try to bring him? And they tried him with... in Ghost Protocol, kind of like a sidekick, temporarily might kind of step in.
Dude, it's one of those things, like you mentioned the Fast and Furious franchise, like, you know, when they had 5, 6, I was like, I mean, these movies aren't bad, but it's getting kind of out there, but they're pumping them out. They're about to put out, number 8?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think at this point, they have that certain number set in their head. They're like, if it makes this, 3 or 4 or 500 mil,
if the money keeps rolling,
we
just keep
another.
Going. They're never gonna say, oh, we're done at 6, because if they make $1 billion on that one, then 7, 8, 9 is greenlit, and every actor and every crew member can make money. Yeah. Why not take that opportunity? So yeah, July 27th, Mission Impossible Fallout. That's kind of our history and briefing on the good old Mission Impossible franchise with Tom Cruise. So go check that out next week. We're gonna move on to the next one. Next one, we're moving on to the one made famous, another franchise made famous by Arnold, the Predator franchise.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
So a little history on this one. Back in 1987. The science fiction action horror directed by John McTiernan, written by brothers Jim and John Thomas, stars good old Arnold as an elite paramilitary rescue team on a mission to save hostages in the guerrilla-held territory in an unspecified country in Central America. So it was written in 1984 under the name Hunter, and all the special effects were done by Stan Winston, who did all the special effects for like Jurassic Park and basically any awesome fucking practical effects you see in the 80s and 90s was done by Stan Winston.
Yeah, he was the man back then.
If it wasn't Jim Henson Company, it was Stan Winston. Right. It was either one of the two. So that's basically gives you a parameter of that. So the original monster was disproportionate. I remember seeing that they had it was like an orange, they had like a big orange suit, because I think they're going to try to green screen some shit on it, or like try to do some computer stuff with it, but it looked fucking horrible. And and it was just like, in the environment that they were shooting in, it just was not going to work. And on top of that, for those who don't know, little Jean-Claude Van Damme action. You want to give him a little background on that?
Oh yeah, man. Jean-Claude Van Damme at this point was huge in the 80s. I mean, he was killing it, and he was originally cast as the Predator creature.
Was this before or after Bloodsport? What year is Bloodsport?
I want to say Bloodsport was late 88 or 89.
Okay, and this
maybe.
was 80, like 86.
This was 86, so I do believe this was before it.
So right before. All right.
But Van Damme, when they started production, constantly complained about the monster suit being too hot, and it caused him to pass out, apparently. And allegedly, voiced his reservations on numerous occasions regarding the fact that he would not appear on camera without the suit. So he's a pretty boy. We all know that.
He was being a
he's
diva.
like, I'm going to be in this movie, but they can't see the moneymaker, or my biceps, or do the splits.
Can't see the muscles from Brussels?
Yeah. Which, you know what? This film didn't need him. It ended up killing it.
Yeah, no, they didn't need it. Like, for a suit like that, and of course it was before his, stardom, but he knew, that.
Yeah, so he had probably already done a couple, like Universal Soldier, I think he'd done. That was, earlier 80s and things like that. So he was getting known, but, yeah, Bloodsport definitely put him on the map. But who knows, if he would have done Predator, would he have done Bloodsport?
It's true. He would have been committed to that one.
How could
anyone
anyone
the stuntman,
else
maybe
do Bloodsport?
No shit. Who else can rock that with the short side cut like he had?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was awesome that to find out that he was in the movie, and to find out, of course, now knowing the kind of star that he is now, seeing the way he looked at it, it's not as selfish. But if he were to never become anybody and had that kind of attitude, then that'd be hilarious.
He'd be that drunk European. I could have been Predator.
He's like, I was in Predator. He's telling, as he's driving people in an Uber car right now to LAX, he's telling them, he's like, I was in the Predator suit for 3 days. I'm like, oh shit, this guy. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, but on top of that, other things they kind of ran into with the suit, when they had the new suit that we see now, the actor who was in it, he still couldn't see shit. So whenever they're filming scenes with Arnold, they're fighting, there are times Arnold said they had to choreograph it to the point the guy was doing it blind. So there were a few times Arnold got caught in the face with these actual sharp claws that they have on the costume. So yeah, he said that had to deal with some
technical difficulties.
Some technical difficulties for sure. But
I gotta say, I love the suit that they chose. I couldn't imagine another suit, and same with the name. Hunter just doesn't sound as badass as Predator.
Is it came to the right conclusion on both of them for sure. And so the first one they rocked out in 1987, in July of 1987 is when it came out. It had an $18 million budget. The box office was $98 million, which is not bad. He didn't quite hit the $100 million. This is early in Arnold's career, so he wasn't quite the Terminator Arnold yet. He was just about 2 years. A year? Wait. He was already the Terminator in 84.
Was Terminator 4? Yeah, it was
and then so never mind. He was already Terminator.
T2 was in
91.
Mid-90s.
It was 91. It was Terminator 2.
That's right.
So yeah, Arnold still he's building his star power at this point in time. But they had Jesse the Body Ventura, Carl Weathers,
Weathers, man.
This
cast
crew of fucking guys. I can imagine shooting this movie with these assholes. It would be quite the trip with all these egos walking around.
Which is so cool, too, because Jesse Ventura, he was an actual Navy SEAL back in Vietnam when Navy SEAls were becoming developed. They
was
were
rocking
called
that sweet stash, too.
underwater diving teams back then. So, he was like a true Special Forces, soldier. And then, Carl Weathers, the Rocky franchise. He just beat the shit out of anybody.
He just, Sylvester Stallone just lent him over to Arnold for this movie. He's like, we're not making a Rocky.
Yeah.
You just go ahead. And then actually I meant to say that earlier was that was kind of the joke as to how Predator came about, was that there was a joke that Rocky had beaten everybody, and so the next opponent that he would need would be from space. And so the guys who wrote the movie kind of took that as an inside joke to write basically the premise of this movie. You have to fight an alien at this point because you've beaten everybody else on Earth. So that's just kind of a cool thing. So yeah, we're talking about all these bodybuilders, wrestlers, huge action stars, and then we go to Predator 2, and we get Danny Glover.
Yeah.
Which, he's still a badass in his own right. Yeah. He's still too old for this shit.
I'm too old for this shit.
But he's a badass in his own right.
Dude, nothing wrong with Murtaugh. Love him.
Yeah, so this is 1992, so he wasn't quite old. This is a few years after The Color Purple, so this is when he's working on his PR at this point.
Right.
So, in 1990, Predator 2, budget of $35 million, box office $57, so not as hot as the first one.
Yeah, they didn't even double.
No, and they changed the whole scenario. They came into the city, which I thought was a cool idea, but like it was so like gritty, and they made like the city like this like super shitty city.
It
like,
was.
I thought, why don't you just bring it to like a rural like suburb maybe, like, and really fuck some shit up. Like take a clean like Pleasantville looking suburb and fuck that up. Why put them in some already like New York suburb shitty
I like that
thing like that? So it didn't, for me, just kind of just like it didn't catch me in that tone. But they had Danny Glover, Bill Paxton was in the movie for a minute.
Oh, that's right. Rest in peace.
Yeah, and of course, another 80s stash. We're going to be referencing stashes. So if you're drinking, drink now every time we reference a stash, because that's going to happen a few times. So Predator 2, the cool thing was I like that they went into the spaceship and they got to see all the other species that had been hunting throughout the galaxy.
Oh, right.
You get to see the T-Rex. You get to see the fucking Xenomorph from Alien. That's when everyone's like, oh my god, they're in the same fucking universe. Are you fucking kidding me? Everyone's heads exploded. So that was like the big like bomb drop for that movie. Yep. Sadly, it didn't do very well. But I think it's an underappreciated one. And then it was a long time before we got another one. 2004. Then we got Alien versus Predator. This is when we're in like early 2000s schlock, when like everything was like revamping in the shittiest way it could. But this movie's actually kind of entertaining.
It's not bad. I remember watching it.
It's kind of entertaining. It's got the girl Sana Lathan. I don't know what else she's been in.
I believe she was it. Was she in Love and Basketball?
Ooh,
with Omar
you're
Epps?
right. You're right.
And I was trying to think of something else. She was in Out of Time with Denzel Washington.
Oh my god, people! He's dropping knowledge. So yes, you're right. I think that's who that is. And
I always thought she was dead sexy.
She is. She did a great job in this movie. Like I remember watching this. This is kind of one of those like if you're in college or you're like in between like before you have to go to work in the afternoon, you're like fuck it, I'll watch the last hour of this movie. And it was pretty entertaining. I'm not gonna say I loved it. I was like I'm watching this because it's entertaining. And it made, off a $60 million budget back in 2004, $172 million, which it's okay. It was enough for them to be like, hey, maybe there's some interest in this franchise.
I think if something makes $100 million, they're talking about some, a sequel or something, maybe knockoff. Yeah.
No, I think at that point, in those early 2000s, that money was good money. Mm-hmm. And then in 2007, December 25th, Christmas, we got Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Just makes me think of Requiem with a Dream, which just kind of just brings up all kinds of bad memories.
Movie.
The movie's so fucked up. And I remember last time I watched it with Freddie, and we tripped on shrooms and we watched it. Ooh. Worst idea ever.
Like, where does
I ended up calling like my mom and sister and shit like that, and like apologizing for shit that didn't happen. I was like, oh gosh, just turn off your phone. But so we got AVP Requiem back in Christmas 2007.
I want to say I've watched it, but I don't remember
this one that much.
I
would mix up scenes from Alien vs. Predator and this one, but this one's was a $40 million budget, $129 million, and this one was an ensemble cast. I looked up the cast. I couldn't recognize one person.
I think that's why I can't remember it.
So I just put ensemble because nobody who I mentioned, anybody would know who it is. So that's that one. And then for some reason, out of nowhere, they decided to release Predators back in 2010 with Adrian Brody. Do you remember that one?
I do. I want to say I did watch it, but I don't think I liked it. Because it was one of those things, like, it's like, what happened to Adrian Brody? Like, I think it was like 2000, he won an Oscar for The Pianist.
And then it dropped. And then he went to The Village. He did The Village. It was like, oh, God.
Yeah. He's like, now he's doing a Predator movie? Huh.
Yeah. That's basically, I think, my exact thoughts, too. So that was another $40 million. They kept it in the $50 million budget range. This one, $127 million, which wasn't...
So it made some money.
But this is 2010 at this point. Yeah. So this money is not as great because these budgets at this point, in 2010 to like 2013, was when we were getting like $200 million budget. Mm-hmm. What was it? The Lone Ranger and like those movies were getting like those $200 million fucking budgets for no reasons.
Huge bomb.
And the studios are like, why aren't we making money? Well, maybe when your fucking budget's like, you need to make 3,000% of your budget, then that's why you're not making as much. So that money is okay, but it's not great money. So it's kind of been 8 years, and I guess it was a few years between each of them, but 8 years is a long time between this last one. And now we're up to The Predator, coming out September 14th, 2018. No budget, No box office of yet. They are doing $81 million prediction for the opening weekend, which is pretty good.
Yeah, they're expecting a lot. It's getting released September 14th, so a week after Labor Day weekend. Everyone's back to school. Yeah, I mean, that's just one of those things that I'm find that hard to believe, because that's also, I think, opening weekend for football and things like that.
Maybe they don't have as much confidence in it, but
I don't know. We'll see.
The premise for the Predator coming out is a young boy played by Jacob Tremblay accidentally triggers an alert on the Predator spaceship that crashes the Predators back to Earth. Since their last stint on Earth, the universe's most lethal hunters have genetically upgraded themselves with DNA from other alien species they've hunted across the universe. Only a crew of former soldiers and assassins, along with a disgruntled science teacher, can stop the Predators before everybody becomes their prey, along with a supersized twist to the Predator saga. So you're right. School time, they got a science teacher in there, and I do
maybe that's their twist.
And I do see the Predator is a math teacher,
right?
No, I did see that in the movie they're in a school. I think at least once, or there's a couple scenes in a school. So maybe the release date they're playing into that, especially having a little kid involved too.
They might be.
This Jacob Tremblay, I think was he the Oscar kid who won for it was The Room? I think with Brie Larson.
I know she won for that. Did he win?
Maybe he got a nomination or something. But
or was he the kid from Boyhood?
Maybe, but this kid's a pretty solid actor. So he's in this. They got Boyd. I forget his name from Narcos. And
I like that dude a lot.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see him in another role.
And I always get the Key and Peele, but one of the Key and Peels is in it as well. And I always get them mixed. Somehow it's why I get them mixed up.
Oh, he don't play that.
Didn't Peele, Jordan Peele, he did Get Out.
It's Keegan Michael Key. He's in this movie.
Okay.
And in the trailer, he kind of dropped a shitty joke, but I think hopefully he'll make up for it in the movie. So we'll see. But yeah, the movie announced back in 2014 that Shane Black is going to be writing and directing the movie. Shane Black was in the original movie. He was one of the soldiers with Arnold and everybody else. So he went on to become a pretty prevalent writer and producer. If you haven't seen some of his work, he did Nice Guys, Iron Man 3, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Last Action Hero, and Lethal Weapon 2.
Yep, I like The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah, that was Samuel Jackson. Yeah,
best movies.
Gina Davis. Yeah, super
Great
old
movie.
school. Yeah, I remember seeing that one. And so do you think like having someone who is in the movie and kind of in the lore, I guess at this point, and has a pretty good credibility in regards to writing and directing, who is now writing, do you think that's a good idea?
I do. I like it, yeah.
Because sometimes it can backfire. Sometimes they know too much and they go off the wall, and then of course we get the ones who know nothing about it and they don't give a shit, and you sometimes you get surprised. You might get a good product out of it. It's kind of a hit and miss.
I gotta say too, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang's another really good movie. It was really underground. It didn't get a lot of hype, but it was Val Kilmer
and Robert Downey.
Yeah, Robert Downey, and that was actually right when Robert Downey was making his comeback. Yeah, and that was one of the films that kind of I think shot him into his comeback.
That was post nose candy.
After his jail stint. Yeah.
So I heard you went to rehab. Yeah, hurt my nose. So yeah, I did enjoy some of those movies. So having Shane Black come in to direct, or not direct, but I think help write it, I think will definitely help. And they talked to Arnold Schwarzenegger, who discussed about returning, but I think they've confirmed that he's not. But it could be one of those J.J. Abrams twists, like, oh, he's not in the movie, wink, wink. And all of a sudden, he like makes a cameo in the movie. Like, holy fuck, Arnold's in this movie.
Would love to see that.
That'd be cool if he was like a mentor, or like maybe he was on the Predator side. Who knows?
He just needs a little cameo.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Arnold or maybe any other cast member, like from like the other movies we talked about, like Danny Glover or Jesse Ventura or Osama Lathan, like we talked about? Adrian Brody shows up, he better die. But what if a Xenomorph shows up?
I'd be cool with that.
That'd be like the ultimate twist if the Xenomorph shows up.
I'd be so cool with that.
I could definitely deal with that. Let's see here. So yeah, I'm excited. This comes out in September 14th. September 14th, and so I'm excited to see it. Hopefully, I know from the first trailer that came out, it wasn't that great, but the second one that has come out has been pretty solid. So that's kind of got my attention as of recent. And September 14th is right around the corner. So Get ready to watch The Predator come back out. But moving on to the next one we have here, we're getting into the Robin Hood franchise.
Robin Hood. He's actually in my family.
You might have some hood. You got some hood background.
I've been asked more than a dozen times in my life if my last name is Robin or my last name's Hood. So if my first name's Robin, because that's what they would see on my uniform in the military.
Oh, really?
I'm like, no, my parents aren't that bad.
You see, I've known you for as long as I have. I've never even thought of that joke ever. It's always just been, "What up, Hood?" Just straight up Hood, right? Or Dylon. That's basically it.
The
five greatest rappers of all time. Yes.
Who are the 5 best rappers of all time? Think about it. Dylon, and Dylon. Because I spit hot fire.
So yeah, Robin Hood himself. A little bit of history about Robin Hood. Legendary, heroic outlaw, originally depicted in English folklore and subsequently featured in literature and film. According to legend, he was highly skilled archer and swordsman. In some versions, the legend, he's depicted as being a noble birth and having fought in the Crusades before returning to England to find his lands had been taken by a sheriff of Nottingham. In other versions, that's not the case. Instead, he's born in a yeoman class, which I assume was like a peasant class. Traditionally depicted dressed in Lincoln green, which is said to have robbed from the rich and given to the poor. So it seems like they combined kind of two stories in that regard, because usually he's come from like noble background, but he still fights for the poor.
Exactly.
Even though that's not the case for the noble people. Let's see. There've been numerous versions. 600 years we're going back in regards to versions of Robin Hood. So
been a legend for a while.
Best known was one of the best known tales of English folklore.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we've always known Robin Hood of the recent years. We've seen him, the movies since the 90s.
It was Kevin Costner.
Yeah. So there's approximately 46 Robin Hood films that have been created since 1908.
Wow.
And so the most noteworthy ones that we were going to talk about. So we know there are a ton more, but we're just going to talk about the most noteworthy ones. First one we have is the Disney Robin Hood. I'm sure many of us have watched this one. Even though it's an oldie, back in 1973, the animated musical comedy was produced by Walt Disney Productions, released in November 8th, 1973. And it was Legend of Robin Hood uses animals. So I think he was a fox.
He was a fox.
Yeah. Yeah, so follows the adventures of Robin Hood, Little John, and inhabitants of Nottingham as they fight against excessive taxation of Prince John, because that's what kids want to hear about, excessive taxation.
Right.
Thanks, prequels. And Robin Hood wins the hands of Maid Marian. The movie had a budget of $5 million and made $32 million. So for 1973 animated, that's pretty solid.
It's a good come up.
So yeah, so you want to get into wait, I'll do the next one. You can rock into the Prince of Thieves one. So we had another one come out. This is kind of, we're going to get into the types of Robin Hoods that come out. So we have an animated one. Now we're getting into Robin Hood that's kind of a little bit more based on the reality. This is a 1901 British adventure film directed by John Irvin and just named Robin Hood. And I guess it was intended for a theatrical release in the United States and South America, but premiered on Fox Network back in the day and just in some territories. So not exactly considered a full-on Robin Hood movie, but it was the British, and they say it's kind of the most accurate. So that's kind of what we wanted to get into, a little more at the accurate one. But we did have a little more famous face in the next one. You want to get into?
Yeah, probably the best known one out there, and the one we grew up with, Prince of Thieves. It was released June 14th in 91, and it was kind of a romantic twist on the action adventure film, but based on the English folk tale, which originated 15th century, so the 1400s. Just like you said, it's been around over 600 years, which is crazy. Directed, though, by Kevin Reynolds, who also directed Waterworld, which makes sense now.
I wonder if he made Kevin Costner drink his pee on Robin Hood, too.
Yep. But yeah, one of Kevin Costner's also most famous roles, but also Morgan Freeman as Azim, one of the best Morgan Freeman's roles, too. Mm-hmm. Christian Slater as Will Scarlet back when he was hot.
Oh,
in the 90s.
Super hot Christian Slater for sure.
And then, Mary Elizabeth as Marion. And then Alan Rickman also, I believe this is one of his first, American roles, how he got big over here as Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, it was that and, Die Hard is one of, his first,
Yes, I believe Die Hard was the first one, and then, this was right after. Another one, rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Movie, $48 million budget, which is pretty incredible for that movie, and it made $390 at the box office. I mean,
for like a folklore, like fantasy film, like, you know, and people don't know, fantasy films, like other than Lord of the Rings, are like, you know, cancer to fucking to box offices and to Hollywood studios. So like hearing this type of money is like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Yep. And what's crazy too is like an interesting segue into this next one is Cary Elwes was offered the role of this Robin Hood, but he turned it down because he thought the plot was too contrived. But
I wonder why.
Right? I think he wanted a little more fun for Robin Hood, which brings us to Men in Tights.
Yeah.
We're men in tights. We roam around the forest looking for fights. We're men in tights. We run from the rich and give to the poor, that's right. We may look like sissies, but watch what you say or else we'll put out your lights. We're men in tights. Always on guard, defending the people's rights.
I mean, we couldn't have a Robin Hood discussion without talking about Men in Tights.
We're Men in Tights.
Tights. We're roaming around the forest looking for fights. That's right. Yes, another movie that we might have to do, and we hold ourselves back from quoting constantly. Lend me your ears. So, Robin Hood Men in Tights, definitely back in '93. Musical comedy adventure, a parody, of course, of the Robin Hood story. This is another Mel Brooks classic. For those who are not familiar with Mel Brooks, go check out Spaceballs. What was it? The Young Frankenstein. What else we got?
Trying to think of the Western one, but I just drew a blank.
Hey boys, look what I got here. Hey, where are the white women at?
Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles, yes.
Yeah.
Go check out those things because those movies are classic. But this one among those are among the top two. People don't give this one enough love. They always reference those other movies, but Men in Tights is seriously a fucking underrated, hilarious movie. So, co-written by Mel Brooks. You know, we had, like you said, Cary Elwes as the Robin Hood. Dave Chappelle as his first acting gig.
It was.
It's pretty solid. At you.
Fun fact.
Bless you. No, that's my name.
That's my name.
And then and the other guys they had on, Little John, if he looks familiar, it was supposed to be Hulk Hogan. They had Alfred Hulk Hogan the role, but he turned it down. He's like, no, brother, Little John's not for me. It's like, all right, we'll go into the guy who looks exactly like you. Then in that case, even though I do like that guy, because if we don't get no tolls, then we don't get no rolls. It's like, I wrote it myself. And so, it just has a great cast of characters, comedians, people who just deliver these lines in this movie perfectly to perfection. A lot of comedic references to other like Robin Hood movies that kind of went over my head. Probably I didn't see like the Prince of Thieves at that point in time, and the Disney Robin Hood ones. But this one was made on a $20 million budget and made $35 million, but I would call it more of a cult classic at this point. Probably made its money on DVD sales because this is the early 90s. VHS, DVD sales. I definitely rented this. I definitely saw this on HBO all the fucking time. So I know this movie made money back some way, somehow.
It did. And yeah, I mean, comedies just weren't that big, I guess, at this time, I'd say. Mm-hmm. I don't think Spaceballs did too well and things like that, but they're great.
They're just kind of, they're under the radar. Like, as much as they still need to be released theatrically, they kind of grow in the back end is when people really start appreciating them. So yeah, that's Men in Tights. So if you haven't checked it out, go hit that one up. Another one we'll kind of breeze through real quick is the Robin Hood one with Russell Crowe from 2010, Ridley Scott. You know, Ridley Scott was doing all of his epic movies at this point in time. He had done like, what was the Egyptian movie?
God, or something in Gods, was it?
Yeah, Kingdom of Heaven, I think is what it was.
Or yeah,
he'd been doing a few of these epic, history type movies, and so he wanted to do this Robin Hood one, and it just didn't quite live up to expectations.
No, I honestly did not like him.
And I mean, I have more notes about it, but I don't want to talk about it because that's how bored I am of this movie.
Pretty much. Like, if you haven't seen any of them, go watch Prince of Thieves and Men in
Yeah,
Tights.
I mean, I'm not even recommending anyone to check it out. I'm just bringing it up that it exists at this point in time. So that just leads us to our last one, the most recent one that's coming out, Robin Hood 2018. It's supposed to be coming out November 21st of 2018.
Hitting that Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this one's starring Taron Egerton. Those who have seen the Kingsman and Kingsman: The Golden Circle, which I like. They're the good. First one. Second one's okay.
Yeah.
First one, super awesome, classic. The church scene is definitely worth watching. And so this one's written by Ben Chandler and David James Kelly from a story they base off of Robin Hood, of course. So you keep getting the same rendition of Robin Hood, but I just kind of want to see what their take is going to be on this. What's going to be different from the previous ones we have, because I guess this one had two different scripts available in the works. One at Disney titled Nottingham and Hood, another one at Sony titled Hood. And so Leonardo DiCaprio's company was trying to produce it, and I think they may have won the rights to do it. And that's when we start hearing in 2015 about all the casting, like Taron Egerton, because that Golden Circle when did Kingsman come out? That's 2015 or 4. That was right in that, because 2015 was a pretty solid year for movies.
Yeah, about 3-4 years ago.
So yeah, I think he was hot off of that. They wanted to start talking to him about casting it. He ended up finally getting it because I knew they had a couple people in the running. He was also in the running for Han Solo too. He would have been a good Han Solo.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
He would have been a good one, but and then they brought in Jamie Foxx to play Little John, which I thought was a pretty cool.
Yeah, I always
cool
loved
take.
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, and
one of the most talented men.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He really is.
Overall talented.
Dude,
for sure.
Sing, plays any instrument, comedian.
He can date Tom Cruise's ex-wives. Like, he's super talented, you know. And then they have Ben Mendelsohn, who's playing the sheriff of Nottingham. Ben Mendelsohn from, if you've seen him in The Dark Knight, he was the villain in that movie. He was in Rogue One. He was Dark Krennic, I think, was the guy's name. So yeah, he's been around for a while, but he's really started to make his name like most recently. So I'd like to see him, but I don't know. Do you think this is gonna hold up? I mean, the 2010 one was literally like no one gave a shit about that movie.
It's very true. I think people at that time were over Russell Crowe in general, including me.
That's more Russell Crowe fatigue than anything.
And yeah, I do. I really do. I think it's got a solid cast. As long as it has a solid story and has a good opening weekend, I think it's going to do really good. And it's hitting that holiday weekend too, which will help. I'm going to go watch it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Do you think the new cast, like with like Jamie Foxx being Little John, like kind of like updating, but like making a little twist on the type of characters that play?
That's another thing too. I've always liked Jamie Foxx. I think he's going to do well.
I mean, he did great, like in the period piece, like in the Django and some other ones like that. So, and Ray, of course, where he got his Oscar. I guess, I mean, we kind of talked about, what would make a Robin Hood movie successful. I guess they've kind of done it. Just we kind of think this is what they need to do. Kind of make a twist on some of the characters. Maybe have somebody competent write the story. Not have a director who's always inundated on giant, big budget blockbusters, and someone can maybe focus on a story of some sort.
Well, I like too how they're bringing in Taron Egerton because he's a young guy. Mm-hmm. So if this does well, and they're trying to probably appeal to a younger audience, of course, but they can make 4 or 5 of these bad boys. Yeah. They can reinvigorate the franchise. It's one of those things with the folklore, so there's not anything they strictly have to stick to. Nah. So it's just going to be their interpretation. So
that would be a baby-faced Robin Hood. So we'll see how we've seen the scruffed up ones, seen the Kevin Costners, we've seen them everything in between, and now we're getting the baby-faced Robin Hood. So that comes out in November. So if you're remotely interested, then stay tuned for that one. Now we're on to our last franchise that we're going to talk about. One franchise that's already been released. So if you've seen the movie, there's going to be some upcoming spoilers. You've seen the movie, right?
Hell yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, I remember you talking about it the other day. I was like, wait, I know we wanted to see it together, but I hadn't sure if you've seen it. We need to go see it together to experience some of the sadness and some of the excitement that goes on. But getting a little into the Jurassic Park franchise history in itself, for those who don't know, it's a science fiction media franchise centered around the disastrous attempt to create theme park off of cloned dinosaurs. Dinosaurs escape their confinements and terrorize the human characters. It began back in 1990 when Universal Pictures and Amblin, which is Steven Spielberg's company, bought the rights to the novel by Michael Crichton before it was even published. Michael Crichton wrote the novel because of the concern for the rise of scientism and exploration of biogenetics for the sake of profit. So he's kind of in the right mind frame, seeing where that was going. So yes, they worked on the book for several years. He decided the first draft would have a theme park setting, kind of like the Westworld movie that he had come out in 1973. Not like the movie, similar to the movie or the show that you've been seeing on HBO, but there is a movie back in 1973 you should definitely check out, which highly recommend. It's a pretty solid one, holds up. But he had the young boy as the main character. People didn't really respond to that one very well, so he changed it up. And you made it more from the adult perspective of dealing with this disaster. So Steven Spielberg learned of the novel in 1989 while he and Crichton were discussing a screenplay for the TV series ER, which you talked about is another solid 90s series.
Great.
With some early George Clooney, some Goose from Top Gun. Some Soul Glow from Coming to America. Yeah, it's a solid show. But Michael Crichton's agents, they were shopping it around different studios. He was just like, I don't want to have a bidding war. I'll just select who I want. Selected Steven Spielberg, and basically history was made from there with the CGI and the score and just like the attention to detail in the first movie that just. Like as kids, we were like in grade school at that point, and it's like the perfect time to have this type of movie come out. We go from playing these shitty little toys to actually getting to see them in live action. That's not like stop motion that we've been seeing in like all the claymation stuff from the 50s and 60s.
Which is terrible, yeah.
Yeah,
it was next level. Mm-hmm. It really was.
Yeah, and it had gotten so many awards, and we knew that it was like an achievement even back then. So much so that back in '93, on a $60 million budget, to this day. $1.029 billion. That's the B, folks.
It was the first one to make $1 billion, wasn't it?
I think so.
And then I think it held it until Titanic.
Goddamn, James Cameron again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jurassic Park. I mean, we watched it just recently. So if you haven't tuned into that episode, go check out Jurassic Park. We did a great commentary with all kinds of facts for the movie.
It's not the same without the podcast.
It's not. You can't watch it without the podcast. So go back and watch that. But yeah, it's one of those that definitely holds up for me. We both said that when we watched the movie. So, but that was back in '93. A couple years later, another Crichton book was Jurassic Park: Lost World '97. That had a budget of $73 million, made $618. So not as much as the first one, but still good. Jeff Goldblum running the show on that one.
Still a good turnout.
With Julianne Moore. So that was a pretty solid one. We got to see the first human kill a dinosaur without using a gun in that one by using gymnastics, which was the weirdest way to kill a dinosaur, I guess you could say. And then a few years later, back in 2001, Jurassic Park 3, with William H. Macy and what's her name, Téa Leoni, just annoying the shit out of everybody with her screaming. And then they actually brought Sam Neill back with a talking raptor. So yeah, and that one had $93 million at $368 million. So they're gradually going down at this point in time. So that was the last one made before we get Jurassic World back in 2015. With Chris Pratt, we had maybe less than a handful of original characters. So Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard are the new stars. $150 million budget, $1.672 billion. This was like one of those surprise, we talked about, surprise box office hits no one saw coming. They knew it would be making good money off nostalgia, but they didn't realize how big of nostalgia this was. Like, it'd been almost 14 years since we had a Jurassic Park
and that's
movie.
Got to be in top 10 all-time box office records, if not top 5. I mean, I think Avatar's only thing over $2 billion, and yeah, that is up there. And
that came out in July. We had The Force Awakens coming out in 5 months later.
It's true.
And it was basically on the same. They had the same trajectory in regards to making $1 billion than The Force Awakens did. And Force Awakens Star Wars is, for a time, maybe not so much recently, as bulletproof moneymaker, no problem.
Exactly.
Nothing else can make as much money as this. The kind of money this place. But when Jurassic World came out, and that money came out, I was like, everyone, like Universal Pictures had a huge year that year. They had that. They had Fast and Furious. They had the Minions coming out. They were just like cleaning house in 2015. So Jurassic World just blew up. Chris Pratt, of course, was in Guardians of the Galaxy, pulled right out from Parks and Rec. Good old chubby Andy. All of a sudden fit.
It's another great show. Never seen it.
Yeah, go run through.
Yeah, he's
Parks
just
and Rec.
the shoe shine guy in the local government building, and now he's making billion-dollar movies.
Just making his sideband mouse rat work.
Everyone loves a good comeback story, right? Seabiscuit, the Mighty Ducks,
Robert Downey Jr., who
Rocky.
else? Yes.
Kim Kardashian.
Well,
in the video she gets come on her back, I think.
Well, and the same with Aziz Ansari. He was just a small character on that show, and now he's got his own Netflix show.
Mm-hmm.
He's a comedian, does these big stand-ups everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Wild.
Just, it's crazy what a trajectory, like a quick trajectory like that can do. And so now, this year, just recently, we talked about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom came out July 2018, $187 million budget, and it so far has made $1.139 billion, and it's still not done. Like we're like on week 3 maybe of it being released. So give it another, I would say 3 or 4 weeks of solid money making before it really slows down, especially with the word of mouth that's been going out. So at this point in time, that leads us to our spoiler review and predictions. Spoiler. So if you have not seen Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, you just want to skip a few minutes, catch the little end discussion. We'll be talking at the end, so don't end the episode just yet. Just go to the end in a few minutes and we'll be talking about some other stuff. But we're going to talk about some spoilers from this movie, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. So this is your last chance if you have not seen the movie. But just to kind of give you a quick overview of the premise of it, is set on a fictional Central American island of Isla Nublar. Of course, everyone knows that one. Off the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, follows Owen Grady, Chris Pratt, and Claire Deary, Bryce Dallas Howard, as they rescue the remaining dinosaurs on the island before the volcanic eruption destroys it. So they didn't know that this volcano was fucking there. I think they had mentioned it before, but like that it was gonna be exploding, so they should build this giant thing on it. That was my whole train of thought, pretty much this whole time. But this one's directed by J.A. Bayona, 5th installment. It's the 2nd installment of the Jurassic World trilogy, so we know we're getting another one.
Yeah, one more coming.
Yeah, and we're just going to get to it. So I'm going to get some of the highlights that I liked about this movie. You can tell me which ones you like, see if they're the same. I like that at the beginning they did go back and had to go get the bone, and the Indorex bone at the beginning, and dive down there, and they had no idea the sea dinosaur, the water dinosaur is still down there and nabs them. And escapes. So I thought it was pretty clever, kind of cool beginning, kind of setup, in that they had callbacks like to the original movies, like the guy who died from the T-Rex or from the monster was wearing the yellow coat like like Nedry in the first movie, and some other callbacks like that. But one thing, the one scene that got me was when they're leaving the island and it's burning, volcano erupting everywhere, and the Brontosaurus is sitting at that dock. And it's just screaming, just looking at the boats go away, like, can I come?
Yeah.
Can you guys take me? And it's just like, come on, guys. And like in the theater, I was like, oh my god, am I seriously holding back tears? And
reminds me of like Land Before Time.
You serious? It is Littlefoot and Land Before Time. You're like Littlefoot's mom going down. Like, oh no.
I actually got that same thought.
And so that scene really got me, because it isn't their fault. They were brought to life, and now you're just abandoning them. It's like, Jesus, I feel like a shitty asshole too. So that was one of the scenes that's kind of most impactful for me. What, any in particular for you?
I just thought it was pretty good action. It was one of those that felt kind of like the middle movie in a trilogy. You knew there's another one coming.
Yeah, a lot of setup.
I'm very excited for this last one, the next one, I guess, because it's going to be the dinosaurs everywhere. Yeah,
and so we'll get into that. The third act, or the final act, basically, they take these dinosaurs from this island to the mansion where they're having this auction, where they're going to be auctioning off these dinosaurs to these bigwigs, which, okay, another thing that hit me too, they're auctioning off fucking dinosaurs, and they're auctioning for like 8 million, 12 million. Like, I figured these things should be going for like close to $1 billion. These are dinosaurs that you can clone and make into armies. Like, It blew me away that this guy was like the little assistant guy was getting a boner over like a $9 million sale.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
dude,
thought it was
that should be like
that was
10 times.
Good deal, yeah.
Yeah,
I'd buy it. Yeah, if I was a billionaire, I'd buy me a dinosaur.
Exactly, I would too. I would too.
Fuck art.
And so yeah, they take all the dinosaurs to this mansion to sell all to these wealthy black market people. And the dinosaurs get out, of course, like they do, and start terrorizing the place. And at some point, get to the point where they are trapped in the chambers where they keep them, and there's gas leaking into this chambers. And they have to make Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and of course, as spoilers, the little girl that's been following them around this whole time you find out is a clone of, was it John Hammond's or was it the other guy's, Lockwood? Was it Lockwood's granddaughter?
I thought it was Hammond's granddaughter.
So somebody's granddaughter was cloned, and so that's the little girl who's been following them around. And so they're all three in the control room while these dinosaurs are running around rampantly because they're getting poisoned. They're trying to get out. It's a super sad scene for anybody to watch. It's basically like Toy Story 3 when the toys are about to go into the furnace, or they're about to get on fire. Like, oh my god, this is gonna happen. I'm about to witness this. I can't walk out. So it gets to that point, and you think that they're gonna die. They verbally are like, we can't do this. We can't let them out because they're gonna kill other people. And all of a sudden you hear, and the door starts opening, and they look over, and this little girl's like, they're alive like me. Like, that makes no fucking sense. That makes no fucking sense. They're alive like you, but a lot of little girls like you are about to fucking die because you just let these goddamn animals out.
She wasn't quite thinking on that one.
No.
She's a clone though, so.
That's true. She is young, but man, like Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard should have had a way more over the top reaction than they did. I would have been kicking that girl
right
in the face. Like, you're a clone, so child laws don't apply. I'm gonna kick you in the face.
Yeah, let's just get number 3 out here.
So yeah, I always thought I from then I was like, and you see, and it was only like maybe like 12 or 13 dinosaurs. You'd think they'd be able to wrangle them up. So it's not exactly Jurassic World. Like, they didn't let like every dinosaur off the island off. So it's not like hundreds and hundreds of each. It's gonna be so hard to wrangle them. Like, you just get a team dedicated to each dinosaur.
Well, I just don't see when you have dinosaurs anywhere, why don't you have an army with guns waiting there in case dinosaurs get loose?
That's what I'm saying. We should always.
They're dinosaurs.
I mean, I know we have our space program. We should definitely have a dinosaur program.
Oh yeah, we got National Guard.
Yeah.
Call them up.
Call them up. They're waiting. Let's strap them up. But so that leads me to some of my questions then. So, what do you think they're gonna do with the third movie now? Since they let the dinosaurs out.
Wow.
And there's maybe, like I said, a baker's dozen running around at this point. Like, are the next movies going to explore like maybe like one thing they keep hinting they haven't quite gone there yet is straight up militarizing and using these dinosaurs in a war, like with guns on their fucking heads, like the cartoon back in the dino whatever.
But see, that's the thing. I think, do they want to go after the dinosaurs and try to capture them and kill them, or maybe just capture them, try another part,
maybe like
or like you said, weaponize them.
I bet you like what they should do is split them up. Like, some dinosaurs are being caught by like people with goodwill, like who are like, I want to save you and like make sure you're taken care of. Some people are taking them, they're catching them because they want to kill them and like clone them, and some people are like, the military's catching them because like, we're catching this and we're gonna train it and we're gonna clone it. So
maybe it's gonna be like the Purge, Jurassic World.
Dude, I'm all for it.
Just people taking out dinosaurs.
Seriously though, like
them.
they got to get creative. There's only like 13 out there, and in reality, you can just dedicate a team to each one. So I want to see them finally do the military, like that, or the cloning of humans and dinosaurs. Like, somebody gets they catch one and they try to get all experimental in their basement, and they turn themselves into like a minotaur dinosaur thing.
There you go.
That wreaks havoc in like the city or something like that. Like, something other than dinosaurs getting out and running around. You had to catch them. I need something else.
Yep.
I just need something else. So I need something with a little more, like, I guess, science fiction at this point, even though we're talking about cloned dinosaurs. Another thing, I guess, what was the other thing I was going to ask? You think Chris Pratt's going to stick around?
I think at this point he has to.
Yeah.
He's riding these franchises.
Until this franchise is done.
Jurassic World. He's
not one of those characters going to get killed off, you don't think?
No, I think, he's got to ride this. And he does good. Mm-hmm. I don't mind him.
Yeah.
What about, do you think Steven Spielberg would direct this one?
I don't know. I honestly, maybe. At this point, he's kind of like just throwing shit at the wall, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, fuck it, I'll do another Jurassic Park.
Yeah, let's just go back.
Because he basically did direct Jurassic World, the first one. I mean, Colin Trevorrow, got credit for it, but he was getting tons of notes, and I heard like Steven Spielberg was basically on set all the time, like because they wanted
maybe
like Universal like be on set, give him these notes, like shit like that, like. So
I don't blame him. Yeah, he's a great director.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he just took over the mantle and just maybe for this third one, since they're basically guaranteed to make money, and with his name attached for the third one, that'd be like even more money. Like Steven Spielberg's coming back for the third and final Jurassic World movie. I gotta see it. Give me my old Jurassic Park lunchbox and T-shirt and hat and shit like that. So you'll start seeing that shit come out. But
or what about a Predator versus Jurassic World?
We need to start getting these major crossovers.
And we like figure out a way to talk to the Predators, and they're like, all right, guys.
They're on our team now. They're like the Raptors.
If you want to side with us, we need you to take out these dinosaurs.
And then we need Arnold in the movie
we'll be good.
As well. Yeah, this is the ultimate mashup. I'm all for mashups. If they keep rebooting, why not just do mashups? Seriously, like old school comics and like Saturday morning cartoons. Just fucking do it. Who cares?
I agree.
We're up for new shit at this point in time. So I'm all for that. So Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom already come out. So if you haven't seen it yet, I mean, you've skipped to the part where you skip spoilers. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It is entertaining. Definitely. I will say for the 2 hours or so, it's very entertaining.
And it'll be at the theaters a couple more weeks at least.
There's only a few parts where I was like, it's a little slowing down a little bit. But for the most part, I was engaged. I was entertained. I laughed a few times. I wasn't overthinking things that were improbable. So yeah, man. So that was Jurassic World. So like I said, go check that out. But that was the last of the nostalgia franchises that I wanted to go over. Hopefully everyone's a little more, educated on the franchises they're going to go be seeing this summer or this fall.
Yeah.
And apparently
great ones coming up.
Christmas. Yeah, so we got some really great ones. So we'll do something like this again. We'll get some more other nostalgic franchises. But other than that, man, thanks for coming in. And everyone else, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Be Kind and Rewind podcast. Make sure you tune in every Throwback Thursdays for new episodes of the podcast. Subscribe, like, follow, and rate the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, YouTube, and now Infirmary Media Podcast Network. Also, follow the podcast on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Be Kind Rewind Pod for all your nostalgic needs. So thanks, and be excellent to each other.
And now, a word from
Infirmary Media.